Sometimes ago, I didn't really know I would have a friend in you. Sometimes ago, I didn't really know you would never wanna leave me. Sometimes ago, I didn't really know that you will never wanna leave me. Oh, I didn't really know that you were my friend.
Uh, we're going to start today's class right away. And the topic that we have for today, the subject is English, English studies. The topic we want to look at is elements of prose. Elements of prose. Elements of prose. So, okay. Looking at this, have you heard the word prose before? What is
Yes.
a prose? So, can anybody try the definition? What is a prose? So, let me hear from any of you. What is a prose? If you want to talk, you signify. What is a prose? Anybody? Okay, let me give it. In writing, prose refers to any written work that follows a basic grammatical structure. In writing, prose refers to any written work. So the key word there is written word. Written word. Any written word that follows a basic grammatical structure. And what is this grammatical structure? It's like a think word or phrases arranged into sentences and paragraphs. Think word or phrases arranged into sentences and paragraphs. So in prose writing, you are just thinking and writing. You are just thinking and writing, or you are just thinking and speaking using everyday word. Is that taken? Is that taken by everyone? Can you all hear that?
Yes.
All right, very good. So, this stands out as in it is different from the works of poetry. So now we're going to be looking at the difference between a prose and a poetry. A poetry follows metrical structure. A poetry follows what? Metrical structure. Yes, metrical structure. And the metrical structure means it follows rhythm, it follows pattern, it follows beat. Like in a poem, it follows beat. So it is think, line, and stanzas. You are thinking, but you are forming stanzas along with your thoughts. Prose simply means language that follows natural pattern found in everyday speech. Prose simply means natural pattern found in everyday speech. So that is what prose is all about. So please write that down. Then Zion, you are welcome. Be settled and write down what you see on the screen. We are looking at elements of prose, and we say, what is prose? Prose refers to any written work that follows a basic grammatical structure, and the grammatical structure it follows is think words and phrases arranged into sentences and paragraphs. So It is arranged into what? Sentences and paragraphs.
But
Yes, but when you talk about poetry, poetry is arranged in lines, in stanzas. It could be 4 lines, it could be 5 lines, it could be 3 lines, it could be 8 lines. When you get into higher level of literature class, you're going to be taught about the names of maybe a poem of 5 lines is called this, a poem of 8 lines is called this. But for this level, just be able to identify what is a prose and what is a poetry. So prose simply means language that follows the natural pattern found in everyday speech. So in another way, we can still define prose. We can still define prose by saying, what is a prose? Prose is a verbal prose. Prose is a verbal or written language that follows natural flow of speech. Natural flow of speech. It doesn't have to make sense with a beat, but it has to make sense in its context. It is the most common form of writing used in both fiction and non-fiction. It is used in both what? Fiction and non-fiction. So prose comes from Latin word which is prosa oratio. Talking about somebody that is an orator or performing oration, which is meaning straightforward. Straightforward. So the meaning is straightforward. So that is prose. But like poetry is another thing entirely. So prose is verbal. Verbal means what you speak, from your mouth, or written means what you write down with your hands. Okay, let me give a sample of the way prose is. For example, just to differentiate between prose and poetry. In prose writing, it will have a presentation like this. Maybe you are just like, I was glad when they told me, let us go into the house of the Lord. For this is where the Lord sends his blessings. And upon Mount Zion, we shall be delivered. You're just talking, but you're making sense. You're making it flow like a pattern of everyday life. But unlike poetry that has to follow a line, maybe follow rhythms or beat, maybe in this day we arise, we will think, we will do, we won't do what we don't think. That follows a beat. But in prose writing, it doesn't follow beat. It has to make sense, but doesn't have to follow rhythms or beats. Okay, is that clear to every one of you?
yes, sir.
Okay, very good. So we want to talk about 4 common types of prose. 4 common types of prose. About prose writing. So 4 common types of prose. Prose can vary depending, according to style, and purpose of the prose. So there are 4 distinct types of prose that writers use. There are 4 distinct types of prose that writers use. So we're going to be talking about them one after the other. One after the other. So, and let's see how they work here. Okay. Are you seeing what's on the screen?
Yes,
Are you all
sir.
seeing it? Very good. Very good. So we're talking about the types of prose now. So number 1, we have what is called fictional prose. I mean non-fictional prose. Let's have it this way. We have non-fictional prose. Let me try and cut this out. Okay, and cut this, all the rest from it. So we have the number one is non-fictional prose. This is a prose that is a true story. Yeah, when you talk about something that is a true story, a prose that is true story is a non-fictional prose. Maybe it is something that happened to somebody, a true life experience. Might be something that happens to you. Isaiah, you're welcome. Can I hear you? Can you unmute and talk, Isaiah? You're
Yes, sir.
welcome. Okay, just make sure there is no noise around you. You can leave your mic on mute. Just make sure there is no noise around you. So, here today we're talking about prose. You're just joining us. We have seen the definition of prose, and we have seen the way in which prose is different from writing. Isaiah, can you use your video, please? Use your video and you unmute your mic. That is a sort of class control on you there. Unmute your mic, please. Thank you. So we talked about non-fictional prose now. Prose that is a true story or factual events or information is non-fictional. That is, it is not what you just think about and bring up. It is what actually happened. So that is non-fiction. So, textbooks, newspapers, articles, and instruction manuals all fall into this category. And Frank's Diary of a Young Girl, composed entirely of journal extracts, recounts the young girl's team's experience of hiding with her family in the Nazi-occupied Netherlands during the World War II. So, though you didn't witness the World War II, but you've heard about there was World War I, there was World War II. So definitely it was something that happened. So when you are recounting an experience that happened in a writing form or in an essay form, that is non-fictional prose. Is that clear to every one of you?
Yes,
Is that
sir.
clear to very good, very good. So now
Yes, sir.
we're going to move to the next example now. Make sure you're writing down because this video might not be available for you after the video for the lecture might not be available. So put down the every details. Now, number two that I want to talk about here is fictional prose. Fictional prose. So please do quick with your writing so that I can clear some spaces on the board. Fictional prose. So for fictional prose, that's number two. Let me say, put the number there. Number two, fictional prose. It's a literary work of fiction, something that doesn't actually happen. Are you getting that, everybody?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Fictional prose is a literary work of fiction. Just think about it and you write about it. This is the most popular type of literary prose used in novels and in short stories, and generally has characters, plot, setting, and dialogue. It's talking about fictional prose. It's a kind of what you just think about, but non-fictional prose is what actually happened in real life. Now, the third example that I'm going to be looking at is called heroic prose. Heroic prose. Third type of prose I want to look at for is heroic prose. Yeah, this is a literary work that is either written down or preserved through oral tradition. It's a literary work that is either written down or preserved through oral tradition, but it's meant to be recited. It's meant to be recited. Heroic prose is usually a legend or fable like the 12th century Irish tales revolving around the mythical warrior uh, Finn MacColl. Finn MacColl are an example of heroic prose. So heroic prose maybe it's about a famous person or a famous event that you want people not to forget. So that is the kind of prose that we mean by heroic prose. And we're going to look at the last example of prose. Then I'm going to be asking you questions one by one. That's an example of prose there. The number 4 example of prose is poetry prose. Now, look at this. It's a poetry prose. Hold on, please. Let me undo that. Poetry prose. Okay. Let me bring that in again. That number 3 has been erased, and try to redo that. So, poetry prose is written in prose form. Prose form like line and stanzas, like we discussed before in prose. So this literary hybrid can sometimes have rhythmic and rhyming patterns, but yet it is using free speech. It's using free speech. It's not compulsory. It should follow a standard beat, but it's using. For example, like you're just in a kind of mood and you want to do like a song, like let's say you want to just talk about your life to the Holy Spirit. Let me use that as an example. So, oh, Holy Ghost. You said what? Number? Which number? Who is talking? Okay, are you referring to me? No. Joanne, are you referring to me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, what did you say?
Yes, sir. Number 2, we can't really sing it well.
Number 2, right? Okay, let me clear some. Is everyone done with this part? Let me select this part. Yeah, okay. Let me see. Are you done with the definition?
Yes, sir.
Okay, if you are done with the definition, I'm going to move that part now. Then I'll move number 2 there, or I will rearrange what's on the screen here. So let me remove what is a prose. Let me remove this, and let me remove this so that we can go to the types of prose. So for the types of prose, said we have 4 common types of prose. Can you see that? Can you all see these 4 common types of prose? I'm waiting for answers. Zion, unmute your mic and make sure there is no noise around. Then this is number 1. Can you see number 1 now?
Yes, sir.
Very good. And this is number 2. Can you see number 2 now?
Yes, sir.
Very good. While this is number 3, can you see it now?
Yes, sir.
Very good. And can everyone see number 4?
Yes, sir.
Only one person is answering, the rest are not answering. Bella, what happened? Yes, can you all see? I'm waiting for your answers.
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. So, number 4, we said number 4 is poetry prose. Poetry prose. This is written in prose form, but it's written in prose form. This literary hybrid, it's an hybrid between a prose and a poetry, so it can sometimes have a rhythmic and rhyming pattern. If there's an example here. The name of the work is Be Drunk. Be Drunk. And the line that we're looking at there said it starts off and said, if sometimes on the steps of a palace or the green grass of a ditch, the mournful solitude of your room. If you read that again, and if sometimes on the steps of a palace and the green grass of a beach in the mournful solitude of your room. You can see a rhyming or rhythmic pattern in that excerpt. So those are the types of prose that we have to talk about today. So coming back to the main, the main elements of prose. See, I will give you people some little time to write, then we can move ahead. Are you all through now? Are you all through now?
No, sir.
Okay, so quick. So, we've looked at the definition of prose. We've looked at the types of prose. Let's have a look at the poetry too, because I'm waiting for you so I can clean this board. Let's have some look into poetry. The main thing we want to look at, we want to differentiate between poetry and prose. So, because we said poetry itself follows rhythmic pattern, while prose is just a free speech. And prose could be fictional or non-fictional. It could be heroic or in poetry pattern. Are you all through with what is on the screen? I'm waiting. Are you all through with what is on the screen? I'm waiting to hear you.
No.
Okay, do quick so that we can move on. Here we want to differentiate between poetry and prose. Ngozi, you are late, and this class will soon be coming to an end. And unfortunately, there won't be video for today's class. So, put down what you can see on the screen. I want to move on now to differentiate between prose and poetry. Because today we'll be looking at elements of prose, and we were able to define prose. Ngozi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, we were able to define prose. We said the prose, verbal, in language that follows a natural flow of speech. The verbal or written language that follows a natural flow of speech. So we said a prose is straightforward, generated from the Latin word prosa oratio, talking about orator or oration. So, and we are currently looking at the common types of prose. So, the only thing I can do, probably I can make the notes available for you just because you're just coming, because we won't be able to wait now. We have to move straight ahead to differentiate between anyway, I think Eri is just joining, and I don't know if Saya was disconnected and she's just joining back. Saya, connect to your video. Eri, you are welcome. You are late already. We'll soon be rounding up the class. Eri, can you hear me? Eri Oluwa, can you hear me? Eri, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I see that you're just joining, but we've almost rounded up the class, and there won't be a video at the end of today's class, but I can only provide the notes for you so that you can go through the notes. But right now, while you are here, let me recap a little bit of what we have done. Are you getting that?
Yes.
Very good. So I want to say we have been looking at elements of prose, and we are trying to differentiate between a prose and a poetry, but we are dwelling more on prose today. So we said in writing, prose refers to any written work that follow basic grammatical structure, which are think words that are arranged into sentences and paragraphs. They are arranged into what you just think. It doesn't have to mean that you are singing or you are forming a beat. No, but you are just speaking based on what you want to talk about. Now, and we said there are common types of prose. Types of prose you can see on the board. We have 4 types. The first one, we call it non-fictional prose. Non-fictional is a true life story. It's a true life story. Can you get that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, it's a true life story or a factual account of an event, or an information that is non-fiction. You don't just cook it up or bring it up. Not that you're just reasoning it up, no, but it's a true event that occurred. While number 2, it's a fiction approach. Fiction approach. Yeah, it's a literary work of fiction that is most popular type that people use today, and it usually have characters, plot, setting, and dialogue. And the third one is heroic prose, like an account that happens, like some of the Bible stories could be regarded as heroic prose, particularly those that were meant to be recited. Those are meant to be recited. Right. And the last one we talk about is poetry prose. Poetry prose. So we want to move to differences between prose and poetry now. Prose and poetry. So the class is coming to an end very soon. I want to differentiate between poetry and prose. So let's see what we have there. Okay, let me undo that. Now we do poetry and prose. Yeah, can I move the first one? I'll move this first page away now. I'm going to select, move it away. So this one is gone. This one is gone. Number 2 is gone. Okay. So I'm only left with number 3 and 4. Then we want to differentiate between poetry and prose. So probably I'm moving away all these so that there can be space on the screen. Now, can everyone hear me? You can hear me say hi.
Hi.
Very good. So in prose follows natural pattern of speech. That is one feature of prose. It follows natural pattern of speech and communication. Prose follows natural pattern of speech and communication. Number 2 is that prose has grammatical structure with sentences and paragraphs. Prose has grammatical structure with sentences and paragraphs. And number 3 is that prose uses everyday language. Prose uses everyday language. And the 4th thing in prose is that sentences and thoughts continue across lines, not in stanzas. Sentences and thoughts continue across lines. But talking about poetry, number 1 is that traditional poetry has deliberate patterns such as rhythm and rhyme. So if it's not going to be rhyming together, then we can regard it as poetry. Then number 2 thing is that many poems. Yes, Ngozi, what is happening?
Sir,
Yes.
I know that I've not written the number 2.
And no problem. Continue with what you have there. I said you were late. That is the first thing. So next time, don't come in. And number 2 is that the video is not going to be available today. But what I can do is to make the note available to you after the class. Is that taken by you?
Yes.
Very good. So we will be rounding up in the next 3 minutes or so. Uh, Many poems have a formal, that's number two under poetry. So many poems have a formal metrical structure. And what are we talking about when we say metrical structure? Metrical structure is beats. It's talking about beats, counting in beats. Maybe 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or another one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, or another one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or maybe the one that has like 8 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Poetry or poems have deliberate pattern, then they have formal metrical structure, repeating pattern of beats. They have repeating pattern of beats. So that is about poetry there. So the number three thing that we look at is that poetry incorporates more figurative language. Yeah, it uses more of a figures of speech, not everyday speech, So it can use a lot of figures. And number four, which is the final thing we're looking at today, is that poems visually stand out on a page with narrow columns, varying line lengths, and more white space on a page than prose. Okay, there is one more here. So a prose doesn't have to follow that, but poem have to follow all those descriptions. Deliberate line breaks occur in poems. Maybe you just break for a silence or break for a beat, so it occurs in a poem. Okay, so can you all hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Very good. So whether you are through with the notes or you are not through with the notes, I want to believe you get the explanation.
Yes, sir.
Very good. So let me be asking you questions one by one. I will provide the notes to every one of you after the class. Let me ask you questions. The first question goes to Bella. Yeah. Bella, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In your own word or from what you have learned this morning, what is a prose?
It's any written work that follows a basic dramatic structure.
Okay. You have just read that now, but what do you think that means? Okay, let me help you out. It means that in a prose, we must have sentences and paragraph. Okay, that is what it means. So, and that is the grammatical structure we're talking about. Okay, is that taken by everyone?
Yes, sir.
Very good. The next question goes to okay, Zion. Zion, can you hear me? Zion, concentrate. Can you hear me? Zion, you don't want to answer question? Can you hear me now? You can't dodge the question. Zion? Okay, let me transfer it to Erin. But Zion, be sure that you're going to have double question later. Erin. Okay, now. When we say prose is a verbal or written language, what do you think that means? In another definition, we said prose is a verbal or written language that follows natural flow of speech. So what does that verbal mean?
Sir?
Yes, what does the word verbal mean? When we say prose is a verbal or written language that follows natural flow of speech. So what does the word verbal mean? Verbal.
Maybe like words or things said
or what again? Can you come again, please?
Words or things said orally.
Yes, words. Please, that's very correct. Words or things that are said. And that is the main thing. things that are said, all right,
Anyone
spoken
who's
words,
engineering
spoken
But
words.
I say
Is that taken
Jimmy
by every one of you?
this thing. Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. So, and this is where we cut the class for today. Are you happy,
Sometimes
everyone?
ago, I didn't really
Yes,
know
sir.
Hmm?
No, sir.
Who is that,
No,
Terry?
what a big
Why?
deal. Sometimes
I did not get the note.
Because what?
I did not get the note.
I'm going
And
to
I did
send the
not
note
get
to
the
you. I will send the note to
note.
you after the class, okay? Terry,
Yes, sir.
I will
Yes,
send the
sir.
note to you after the class, okay?
Yes, sir.
Aha. So, are you happy now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you're happy, say hi.
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 That's very good. So thank you very much for today. I'm going to stop sharing the screen now. Thank you very much, and we meet on Monday by the grace of God. Bye.